Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome in. Welcome back to Hermit Style. I've got my second place Blue Baby deck up that I'm going to be talking about today. Took this to the PPG Regional, ended up in the finals with my teammate Nick, who destroyed me, clapped me. It was actually a pretty close game, but it was a really, really fun game, really good game. And he took Yellow Turles. If you want to see that deck profile, you can check it out on the channel. We posted that a couple weeks ago. But yeah, today we'll be talking about the Blue Baby list that I took, and it performed really, really well. Nick was my only loss that day, so I was pretty happy about that. And let's just jump into it. So to kick us off, the Blue Baby leader. This leader is just nuts. It's been nuts almost since release. We've played this deck a ton. I really, really enjoy this deck, and it's broken. It's one of the best blue decks in the game. Has been for a long time. For some reason, people don't play it. I've never figured out why. But yeah, it's I think it's really strong. So anyways, let's just go into the card choices here. We'll start with the super combos. As you can see, Zeno. So 4 Zenos. This is just a super combo of choice. I wouldn't play any other super combo in Baby. The errata to Planet Tuffle shows that when you have a battle card, you have to pay full cost for all of your counters. That can be a little rough sometimes, so Zeno helps you get that energy back to help you continuing to negate and floodgate. So yeah, definitely would not want to play any other super combo. Also gets around if people are playing those cantrips, the barrier ones that burn you when you untap energy when you negate. By the way, those are terrible. Please don't play them. Not saying that as a Baby player. I'm saying that because they're genuinely bad. Unless I don't know. I'll stop. But yeah, Zeno definitely is the super combo choice. You don't want to play any other super combo. Boo Unison, just best blue Unison. It's no surprise there. I don't think I need to explain it. I did have a list where I was playing around with Baby Unison. That was pretty cool. But Boo definitely is the one you want to play. Moving on to God Seal. I play 4. Honestly, you can cut it down if you would like. I want it 4 for consistency. Specifically, it's pretty good against Reboot, Cell, and Bulma. So I really wanted it for those matchups. It's also nice just to God Seal a Floodgate when you're trying to go for game with Kale or something. Just nice to have that in your back pocket. Certainly not as good as it used to be just because so many boss monsters have Deflect. So its use has just changed a little bit. You're not really using it to, push your opponent back when they, tap a bunch of energy, play some big card. Usually you're not using it for that anymore. It just has a different use now. So it's fine. I liked it at 4. I personally would not change it, but I could certainly see the argument for 3. I would not play less than 3 in this format. D-Magic, you just always are going to play 4 of this in Baby. You need that energy back. It's a 1-drop negate. It has Sparking. You just have to play this. There's no way I don't play it at 4. Gohan Floodgate. This one used to be a lot better. I would say in this format, this card felt a little bit worse. People just have larger hands. They have better draw power. A lot of times with Gohan negate, and they're like, sure, attack, 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 attack. You're like, oh my god. And then not only are they pushing you, but they're filling their deck back out. So now you're like, oh lord, now I can't mill you. Sometimes this card can be a bad time. So you want to really time this and understand what your win con is. Some matchups you have to mill your opponent. Some matchups you have to kill your opponent. Some matchups you can pivot. So you do have to know your matchups pretty well with Baby, and this card can certainly go against what you want to do. So use it with caution. Obviously, it's also susceptible to a lot of the counters in the game. So you also want to be aware of that as well. You don't want to get yourself caught tapped out and they hit this and you have no backup plan. So certainly want to be aware of all of those things when you're playing this card. I find that it is a lot better in the late game, but card did fine. Always going to play 4 of it, to be honest, until we get something better. 1 Baby Ape. This is probably my least favorite card in the list. Unless you're ramping energy, it's very, very difficult to tap 5 for this card. Usually if you're tapping 5, it's usually Kale, or you're usually waiting to mill them out. So yeah, very rarely. I don't remember if I even played this one time. I don't know. I can't remember if I did, honestly, but if I did, it wasn't very impactful because I don't even remember it. Sometimes you literally just clearing a barrier card. You're like, oh, SS4 Goku Annihilator, let me clear that guy. So yeah, it's okay. Now, if you can ramp, you're playing like Mike's version that he put on Crossworlds with the Vegetas. Sure, this card's broken. You can play 2 of it. Hell, you could probably convince me to play 3 if you want it. when you're ramping energy, but when you're not ramping energy, not so great. I always have that one. I don't think I would ever play it without this card just because it's so good. When you need it, it can come in really clutch. You know, if you're playing really long game and you literally just naturally hit 10 energy, you can Kale Baby Ape. You have it as that removal. You know, there are uses for it. That's why you play the one, but in this list, I would not go more than one. Baby Hatch SCR, don't need to explain that. That is obvious. The SCR you're going to play in blue right now. Revenge Big Bang Attack. This is half the reason you play Baby. This negate is broken. It's D-Magic that draws a card. So that is amazing. Planet Tuffle. Obviously, you play that. Start with it on the board. Oceanus. So I used to play 4 of this. I cut it down specifically to find tech spots for off-color cards I wanted to play for this tournament. And honestly, 3 is fine. I do think this is one of the best floodgates in the game. It is, like Gohan, very susceptible to answers, but you have to keep in mind, for one, how many answers are they realistically going to have? And then 2, what are they wasting to like give that up? So you can kind of like play into it, you know, like you can bait out their counterplay on maybe a Gohan if you really want to Oceanus. So then you Gohan, let them counter it, then you tap 2 on the next attack, use your Oceanus, and then a lot of times they won't have the second answer to your second floodgate. So that's always a really nice play you can do. But yeah, card's really good. If you play 4, I certainly wouldn't blame you. Especially late game. It's just Baby Hatch. Early game, it's still kind of like Baby Hatch if it resolves. I mean, if my opponent attacks through it, I am jumping for joy. Like that is amazing. I'm gonna mill you out. So yeah, this is a really good card for Baby. I definitely would not have a Baby list without it. Ready to Rumble. We always play this at 4. If there's any card I would say in this deck that you have to play 4 of, no matter what, like literally, I would cut Revenge Big Bang before I cut this card. This card is broken. If you're playing less than 4, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Like, this card is nuts in the deck. It is actually Baby Hatch. Every single time this resolves, if my opponent attacks through it, they lose the game. This card's broken. Like, if my opponent attacks through it, they better have enough gas to kill me that turn. Which, like, sure, that can happen, but they need to be prepared to go to 0 energy and kill that turn. And if they don't, they have lost the game. Like, there's no way they come back from that. So, Ready to Rumble, always a 4 of. You can just slam this down and watch your opponent pass turn. King Cold, played at 2. Just to mill people out. You know, you're going along with Baby. A lot of times they can't come back from the mill 5. So, yeah, it's just really good. And people forget, too, it's still a 25k dual attacker, too. So not only are you milling them, you can also push them. So a lot of times, milling your opponent and killing your opponent kind of start to intertwine in the late game. You know, if your opponent's down to 3 life and you're swinging with a 25k, they probably have to super combo. That also means they're drawing a card. So now this card actually milled them 6 cards. If they use 2 super combos, it milled them 7 cards. So it's kind of a cool little use case there for it as well. It's good at killing. I don't know. The card's just nuts. Obviously, just be careful when you play it. You don't want to lose on the crackback because 6 energy is a lot. But yep, I did mill a few people out with this card in the tournament. Felt really good. You could certainly play more if you wanted, but 2 was fine for me. Kale at 3. This card is probably the best blue boss monster. I love this card. You just destroy people with it. It is a little weird when you're playing some of the mill strategies because your opponent has a wide board and you put them all back to their deck. You're kind of going against that, so you do have to be a little strategic in when you play Kale. And in some games you're going to have kind of a decision, you know, am I going to mill them or am I going to kill them? And a lot of times you'll have to make that choice and make sure it's the right one. So do have to be careful with that. But yeah, Kale's nuts. I was killing people left and right with it. Cards are just very, very good. 3 is definitely the number I would play. Dirty Burst at 2. I used to play 3. I cut it to 2 for this event. 2 was fine. People are playing less 8-drops and things. You know, like the Goku and the red U7 deck or Cell and Gamma. People are less and less playing those cards, especially against Baby, and opting to go for strategies that go more wide. Honestly, and it's much more punishing. Like Gamma players, if they're just trying to slam Cell every turn, it's usually wrong. Like that just wasted your turn. Especially if you've built your board up, that's fine. But I've seen Gamma players with no board just trying to hit Cell, and it's just Dirty Burst, remove it the next turn. Just you literally wasted a whole turn where you could have possibly had some tempo spamming board and swinging, trying to go under me. So, but yeah, Dirty Burst was fine. At worst, it was a one-drop negate, and at best, it shuts down the red boss monsters, Gamma's boss monster, cards like that. So, yep, it was good. Moving on to 17. Honestly, this is another card I don't think is very good. Obviously, it's the high ceiling card, right? Like, you play it, you just auto win if it resolves. Sure, that's fine. The issue is, one, do you really have the balls to play it into 2 open energy? Usually the answer is no, because you just get blown out. So a lot of times it just sits in your hand doing nothing. It's a 1 for 10k that you can't combo. It's not a counter that you can find. Kale's usually just better. So yeah, I have a lot of gripes with this card, but at the same time, when your opponent does decide to go down to 1 energy open, you can a lot of times play this card and just win the game. So I would keep it at 1, I guess. I've had lists where I cut it, but it was fine. It won me one really close game against my teammate Trevor. He was playing SS4. Shout out to him. That deck's nasty. You can check it out. I think it's on his YouTube. Go to Broken TCG, show him some love. But yeah, we had a game, and I knew that he had a huge advantage, especially against this version. Best of 3, I tech some cool cards for his list, but best of 1, no side, I got nothing. So I had to just slam this guy down and pray no Jiren, and I got lucky. So that was literally it. Could have very easily beat me had he had Jiren, but I got a little lucky in that game. So yeah, and that's another reason why that card's good. Like, it's just sometimes it's just your trump card. You're just, oh shit, I'm out of options. Just slam 17. Jiren? No? All right, cool, I win. So it's another cool thing for it. All right, moving on. Beerus Realm. This card's very average in my opinion. You don't want to go into the combo step with Baby, so a lot of times this card's just dead in your hand. I charge it a lot. It is cool to hit cantrips, like if you're playing a lot of blue decks like SS3 that are playing the Kai. It's nice to bottom deck those. That's usually why I have it. If this was a best of 3 list, I would probably have access to 3 copies of this card just for that matchup. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it can get rid of some big cards, but usually Kale does that for you. A lot of times you don't care about your opponent's board because you're floodgating them anyway, so that effect doesn't come up as often. It costs 1. It's not a counter. There's a lot of things that go bad for it in Baby. Honestly, I hate that I play 1 of it. I much would prefer to play Gohan Piccolo, but Gohan Piccolo is a multicolor card, and I couldn't afford to play it. But if I had a little more flexibility, a little bit more space for off-color cards, I would certainly be on Gohan Piccolo. I think it's a superior card in Baby. All right. But yeah, you definitely play the 1 just to have it. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could just cut it completely, but this is where the lists get weird in the no side. You know, best of 1, no side. This is one of those cards that's like, I want access to 1, so I kept it in. But if you cut it, wouldn't blame you. If you added a second one, also wouldn't blame you, just to give your matchup a little bit more favor against SS3 and decks that can spam those cantrips like that. So player choice, I think, on that. This card felt really good, actually. 6-drop Goku. I've always had this card in and out of the list, and I always vary between 1 and 2 copies in the list. 1 was fine for this. You can usually just find it when you need it. It does really good against the go wide decks that spam 15Ks. It can really help to shut those down. But yeah, perform fine. There's a cheeky play where you can tap 3 the turn before you 17. So you tap 3 for this, floodgate them, they pass, you play 17, put their hand back, you swing crit for 1 life with 17, and then you hit them for 3 with Goku. And usually they're at 4, and that's game. So nice little play you can do there. The 4 Goku Vegeta negates. Shout out to Mike for this tech. I mean, got to shout out Mike when you're playing Baby. You know, Baby, he's the baby master, you know. So got to shout out Mike. But yeah, this was a new tech that he came up with, and I really liked it. This is actually one of my favorite arts in the game. So as soon as I saw him playing it, I was like, oh, we got to get in there with this. But it fills a really weird spot in the deck. Like, you need space for these 1-drop negates, and it's just like, which ones do you play? So this spot has been filled before by Whis Coercions. It's been filled by Heroic Prospects, more Dirty Bursts, just different random cards. Even at one point, if you go like pretty far back in Baby, like Bola was technically where this card would be. So there's just a lot of different negates that this could be. I like a couple things about it, but one thing I really like is the obvious 5K, which is nice for the go wide decks. It can really help you against AOD when they get going early. And then also it's kind of neat. It has a second use. It's a little bit smaller, but it's there just to refill your deck. So it's just a card that gets value out of your hand and then goes back under your deck. So when you're playing against those mill matchups, you have 4 Gohan, 4 of this, you've got your Planet Tuffle, and you've got your leader skill just to put cards back in your deck. So I think that's really cool. Sometimes I can literally just buy you 1 extra turn, and sometimes that's just the 1 turn you need, since this version of Baby can be a little bit weak to the mill decks. So thought that was kind of cool. Didn't see any, but it's kind of cool. But yeah, you could easily not play this card if you don't want. It's fine. You could cut it down to 2 or 3. That's also fine. I liked it at 4. Going forward, I might cut 1. Haven't really decided. I don't really test a lot for best of 1 no sides, so I probably won't put too much thought into this list anymore. I'll put more thought into my best of 3 list moving forward. But yeah, definitely a cool card. Okay, and then we get into the Frieza package, Rebirth Frieza. I personally hate this combo. I think this card is pretty bad. But it's best of 1 no side where you can play bad cards and they become good. So yeah, this card, it performed well. Helped me to win 2 or 3 games. I would say, yeah, I think I played it 3 times, pretty sure. I don't know. I'd have to look at my matchups, but I would say there's only 1 game where I played it that I actually needed it, where I was actively looking for it, where I was like not using leader skill to make sure I drew it to win the game. That was versus Gamma, and that was specifically because I cut commies to play this card. So shout out to Lee and Nick, who were in the Discord chat with me the night before, as I had a pile of like 40 cards. I was getting really frustrated moving cards in and out of Baby because I hate building for these style events because there's just too many variables. This format's way too wide to account for everything. So you get to like your last, like, I don't know, 2 to 6 deck spots, and it's just a crapshoot. It's just, okay, what do I want to be better against? What do I want to be worse against? And just decided to go with the cheeky Frieza play, and it worked out really well. So no complaints from me. I personally would not play it in best of 3. Blue decks just God Seal it. Yellow decks can tap it. Green decks can pop it. So I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. It did its job for a best of 1 no side event, and it's probably the only time I would personally play the card. There's people who disagree with me, and that's fine. Obviously, it's powerful. You resolve it against certain decks, and it's an auto win, which feels really good. My personal opinion, you can just win the game through cards that are less susceptible and not have to run so many bad cards in your deck. Like, there's never a time in Baby where I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I have this multicolor not counter card. Come on. And like, then you'll sit there without Rebirth. You're like, oh my God. Sometimes you'll sit with Rebirth without Frieza. And it's just, ugh. And Rebirth doesn't proc Kale's skills. If you thought it did, it does not. You can play Kale, but it doesn't get anything. So I don't know. It's whatever. It's fine. Moving on. I feel like Zach right now. It's fine. It's cracked. It's good. If you watch the Vegito deck profile, the pile on the channel, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, moving on to God Slicing. This was another Mike tech, so yet another shout out to Mike. This card was very okay. It didn't personally come up for me. I see the use in it in this format, which is really cool. I just did not have many opportunities to use it. I don't know if I'll continue to play it. I honestly need to test with it more. Certain times it's obviously broken, gives you access to 2 counterplays in the same turn between that and God Seal, which is really, really cool. You can set up some really nice plays to answer multiple floodgates, answer multiple things like first Bulma. You can like hit a bunny girl, and then still God Seal the topo. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with this card. So I certainly don't mind it. It's even not bad like against launch decks that are trying to spam Broly Crown. You can just buy yourself a turn without getting Crown. Just put it at the bottom of your deck. You tap your 2 energy, so now Crown's offline. Like there's a lot of really cool little niche things you can do with it. So it was fine. I actually did bottom deck a Broly Crown, which felt okay. But yeah, I don't know if I'll continue to run it. I think it's more of a side deck card for me at this point. But yeah, it just depends again on how you want to hedge your bets, because there's certain matchups where it does really well. Okay, the 1 Jiren, just had that for the 17. I played it 1 time, and it won me the game, so I had it when I needed it. I don't think I would have lost the game, honestly, if I didn't have it. I was set up pretty well, but it definitely was possible. Definitely was possible. My opponent was pretty mad about it. He didn't think people would play Jiren. Personally, I think if you're playing a deck that goes long, have to play Jiren. I almost played 2. I just couldn't find the space for another black card, and that was why I didn't play 2. I just hate losing to 17, though, and there's a decent amount of decks to play it. Gamma can play it. You've got SS4. You've got Baby. There's even, I guess, Vegito could play it if they wanted to, but decent amount of blue decks that can play 17 right now. It's definitely seeing more play, so if you're planning on hitting turn 7 in an event, have access to Jiren. That's for sure. And then lastly, just 3 Draw Apes. This is your main target to pitch off Oceanus. It's also nice versus decks trying to push you early. You can just combo out of an early 10k swing, put it in your drop, draw 2. Yeah, it's Draw Ape. I don't need to explain it. I don't know why I'm explaining it. But yeah, deck performed really, really well. I had a really fun day. My opponents were insane. I felt like basically the whole top cut was like a lot of my opponents were the same people who topped. So it was actually a pretty tough day, but Baby overperformed. I thought it was a really good pick. Yeah, I don't know. It did really well for me. So I have no complaints with this list. I don't think there's a ton I would change for a best of 1, no side event. I think the flex spots where you can kind of play with a little bit is the God Slicing, the Realm, and the Goku Vegeta counterattacks. Other than that, I personally would not adjust anything else in the list. You could run a second Frieza if you're really liking that. 1 was fine for me. To be honest, I only own 1, so there was a very simple choice for me, but 1 was fine. I saw it when I needed it. I also just don't overly rely on the card because I just don't think it's necessary at all. So in the matchups you need it, you just funnel through your deck for it. You just find it. And if you bottom deck it, you just keep track of your deck count. You cycle through so many cards, you'll see it in another 4 to 5 turns. So, and in Baby, it's not hard to just live another 4 to 5 turns. So, all right, but yeah, that is the list. If you want to hear more about my matchups and how I play this deck, feel free to join our Patreon. I'll be doing an in-depth play guide on Baby. I've done a lot of Baby content. It's an ongoing joke, but I just think that the deck has been very good, and I put content to try and help people who maybe are a little bit, especially for people who are maybe newer to the competitive scene or have been a part of it but struggle a lot. This kind of hopefully it helps you to kind of break the ice and get through so you can start moving up the chains a little bit and help you get access to better testing partners, because you can join our Patreon team where we do team testing sessions, the Turtle Squad. And yeah, Turtle Squad's been doing great too. We had multiple people top from the Turtle Squad recently, so it's going really well. So yeah, if that's something you are into, definitely join in the Patreon. I'm actually getting ready to prepare for some content with the team. We've got Nick, Armando, and Zach are all going to go in this week. We're all going to be talking about different things related to Zenkai. And actually, I will have the finals match from this tournament, Baby versus Turles. Me and Nick, we have it recorded. We're going to commentate over ourselves and kind of talk through all the play lines and things. So that's going to be really cool for the Patreon too. But the link is below. And if you're not into that and not into the paid content, you can still support the channel by joining the Discord. We're in there every day talking, chatting, playing, so definitely join there. And of course, if you have not already, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and we will see you next time. Later, everybody.
I got the real one problem on my back every day. I got the shit this way, to try whatever way. You got the big boy problem, go to school every day. You got the break